I really think if you want to be successful, you need to own some real estate or at least a piece of something and invest in it. Because I think every commercial real estate agent needs to be investing. There's a ton of opportunity right now. It's a slow process, but I'm pretty happy with I get to go to work with people that I want to be around every day.
This is your Real Estate Syndication Show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Joe Killinger. He's managing partner of Pono Asset Management, partner at Commercial Brokers International. He's the head of marketing at CREI Summit, 30 plus years of experience in commercial real estate. He's been an agent, an investor, a syndicator, and he's done a lot of things in commercial real estate and now directly involved in marketing of over 6,500 assets, 950 million in transactions. He got his license in real estate at 18 and it was obviously motivated. And we talk about that and where that came from. But then just the turns that his real estate career has taken. He goes through a number of comments just about lessons learned through different cycles and many real estate cycles that he has been in, and even opportunities that you should be looking out for today. Joe, welcome to the show. Looking forward to the conversation. You have been in commercial real estate for a long time, lots of experience. I'm looking forward to pulling some of that out today so the listeners and I can learn from you. But welcome.
Thank you for having me on, Whitney. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, let's jump in a little bit and learn a little more about who Joe is. Elaborate on that experience a little bit. I know, even before we started recording, you mentioned how you've been through several downturns. I want to get to that in the show too, and just some lessons learned. But man, talk about, getting to where you're at today in commercial real estate, and let's jump into some of your superpowers.
I don't know that we'd call them superpowers. I think they're more life lessons and what not to do. I started off in residential real estate as an assistant for an individual. I found out residential real estate wasn't for me. I'd moved from Nebraska to Southern California. I was living in Orange County. I decided the bigger market's up in LA. So I moved up to LA and started doing some construction work. Really wanted to get into real estate, though. It was just my passion. My father had been been an auctioneer. He did everything, livestock, big farm equipment, and he did some real estate as well. And the real estate portion really got me excited. And when I went off to college, I decided to get my real estate license. I got it when I was 18 years old. And I was fortunate enough, this company in Lincoln, Nebraska, Woods Brothers Realty, Pace Woods Jr., gave this 18-year-old kid a shot. And he said, okay, he goes, you're going to college, it's going to be pretty tough. So we'll give you a shot. We'll give you some training, but let's get you started cold calling it through a phone book down in front of me. It was about that thick. He goes, there's your clients. Good luck. And I listened to other people cold calling. Fortunately, I ran into a mentor, and he really helped me get on a path to learning how to sell farms in Nebraska. Really got my bug. So I got to LA then, to backtrack a little bit. I got to LA, started working as an assistant after a few other odd jobs. Moved to LA or to Orange County, then moved to LA to really get involved and really want to figure out how to figure out my path in real estate. And I ended up tying in with some guys that were doing development, threw in some money with them, just a few bucks here and there, and lived in the homes where they were being constructed. And that ended up being a terrible business. At the time, the economy was just starting to tank, and it ended up at a company here in Los Angeles that was a real estate auction company. And I found my love of real estate, and I just absolutely loved it. And I was there for a few years. Then that company ended up laying a bunch of staff off, myself being one of them. My now business partner was one of them. He actually laid me off. So now he ended up being my boss at one point. He laid me off. And then 2 months later, he goes, hey, I need a job. And I just said, well, we can do everything 50-50. And I've made him pay every day for the last 20 plus years for laying me off. But we ended up starting a auction company, real estate auction company. We're doing a lot of RTC, Freddie Mac, that kind of stuff, a lot of foreclosure stuff. But we partnered with a guy, Fred Sands. He owns Fred Sands Realty. The company was called the Sands Group. We built that to the #2 real estate auction company within the first 18 months of launching, simply by cold calling. We'd start in the morning, show up in the office, start calling in New York. I'm in LA now. call New York, work our way all across the country, calling all the banks and developers we could talk to. And then at 3 or 4 o'clock, we'd stop, send them all letters. There was no internet really at the time. So that was it. That company ended up closing when the auctions slowed down. Then we went to DBL Realtors and started their commercial real estate auction company. DBL Realtors is one of the largest independents here in Southern California. We did that for several years. And then we decided to start our own company called Commercial Brokers International. And those are the offices I'm in now. And that company's been around for about 19 years. We also have Icon Capital, commercial mortgage company, and the affiliate network is a group of independent commercial real estate brokers from around the country that all work together. It kind of gives us a leg up on the big three companies so we can compete against them. So now we had a tech company at one point. We ended up building up and selling off. So we've done startups, just been very entrepreneurial in the commercial real estate field.
Yeah, different businesses and a lot of great experience there. I wanted to even back up a little further. You talked about your father who sounded like was very entrepreneurial as well, auctioneer and owned some real estate, whatnot. But then, you getting your real estate license at 18, I love hearing about, young people that were motivated, right? And that were like going after it, right? And even starting, getting like that, like getting their real estate license at 18 and finding somebody that was willing to invest in you. Speak to that a little bit. Was that your father's example? What was that gave you that drive even at 18?
Oh, that's simple, Whitney. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska in a town of 281 people. Dating pool is pretty shallow, as you can imagine. Wasn't a whole lot to do there. But I ended up working on the farm and I hated it. And I think any kid growing up, either you love farming or you do it. Now you got to remember this was back in the 70s and 80s and you sat outside. You didn't have the cab track. You sat outside all day. You had the ball cap on, deerskin gloves so you could keep your hands from getting burned, long sleeve shirt. And I hated farming. And I was going to do whatever it took not to have to go back and be part of that farm or be a farmer. And so I was going to college. I wanted to be an ag teacher. Long story short, my parents ended up losing the farm, so there's no place to go back to anyway. And so, out of necessity, you really get very creative. And I was going to do whatever it took. And I ended up just packing up and driving across the country to Southern California. And I ran out of money. That's how I ended up in Orange County. That was it. I had no more money. So put gas in my car and started living life.
Wow. That's incredible. It's just neat to hear like the things that shape us, right? And especially shape people that are motivated at a young age. Often it's hard times, right?
Yeah.
That drive us to want something different. But let's fast forward now. Obviously, so many years and great experience in success in commercial real estate. What's your main focus today? Like, what's the thing that you do every day? That you're so focused on now.
Yeah, it's like we've got Icon Capital I talked about. It's a commercial mortgage company. It's a partnership with BMC Capital out of Dallas, Texas, a great company. And then we have the affiliate network that I spoke about, the independent brokers. And then we have Commercial Brokers International. So those three companies, I've got a marketing team that's expanding them. We've also got my brand, Joe Killinger, that we're mentoring a lot of young agents around the country, really helping them build their business. And then we have our own agents here within our office at Commercial Brokers International that we're building. We are always watching out for other brokerage firms we might be willing to acquire. We are definitely going to be expanding this brokerage, Commercial Brokers International, into probably Newport Beach area in the next year and a half or so, and maybe a small office in Glendale. So there's a lot of moving parts right now. I just have got a great team around me they're making some pretty good progress.
Before we even started recording you, I mentioned this earlier, but you started talking about been through several downturns. I'd love to just hear, so just right off the bat here, just some lessons learned, right? Or things that have happened that are shaping how you're even seeing the economy today. I know that's what listeners are wondering right now. It's like, should I invest today? Should I not? Should I buy today? Should I not? I'd love to hear, maybe some lessons learned and how that shaped, like I said, how you're viewing the economy today.
A lot of it's mindset, Whitney. I see when times get bad, we start watching the news all the time. We're watching our phones, and it constantly beats you down, right? And then we kind of start believing that stuff. But what you have to realize, a lot of people are having a tough time. And if you have the ability, there's a ton of opportunity right now. A lot of the people that I know, there's been cash sitting on the sideline, and they're starting to spend it right now. They're finding deals that are coming to that they're like, okay, these numbers work now. And you've got to keep an eye out for opportunity. And I see it, I see it with, I was just in a conversation about an hour ago with a guy that's a restaurant operator. And there's a lot of restaurants closing around Southern California. And I said, why now? Why here? And he goes, the opportunity. He goes, the opportunity is incredible here. He goes, you've got prime locations that are coming available. And he goes, I want those prime locations. I'm a solid operator. And he's a very solid operator. He's going to go in and he'll make a ton of money on those things, because when money was easy and easy to get your hands on, everybody had money, investors had money. It was easy to raise money, and the operation side of these companies weren't necessarily being run the way they needed to be run. And you're seeing a lot of GPs and some of these syndications that are out there that they've been posting on social media this extravagant life they've had for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Well, the last 2 years, things have changed. They've not operated in the down market. And so now dividend checks aren't going out. Where if we get some calls on that, what do I do? And, they're going to have to wait it out. But, if you're a good operator in a business, it's a great time to be out there looking for an opportunity right now. And as far as real estate investing, same thing. Be ready for the opportunity. Have that nest egg ready to roll.
Where do you see the opportunity right now? Let's say for passive investors specifically, how would you guide them right now as far as where we're at in the cycle?
Well, real estate is so local. It really depends on your market. Right now, I'm in Southern California. If you can get your hands on some great retail, that would be ideal. But you got to look. I was just reading a report the other day, like multifamily, like New York has 30,000 units coming on the market. Dallas, Fort Worth has about the same. Austin has 10,000. That small town has a ton of them. Arizona, you just have to make sure you know your market before you go investing. And I find a lot of people are just looking at the property and look at the numbers. They're not looking at the overall the geographic area. And you have to make sure you know what's going on there. But it's such a local market. It's hard to say, depends on where you're at. But start by knowing what's going on in your marketplace. What's still going up, what's still going down. I mean, if you look at downtown LA, Class A office is 85% full. Now you go across the street to a Class B building, it's pretty much empty. Be smart. Really, really dig into what's going on in your local market.
You mentioned operators that are in distress. No doubt, there's so many at the moment and so many deals that are in distress. But the ones that reaching out to you, what have you seen as maybe the common link that's caused them to be in distress right now?
They just weren't operating it right. A lot of it comes down to operations. If it was just easy, it was easy, and then the last 2 years they struggled. I can tell you about it. I looked at a brokerage the other day, a small firm in Orange County. It's under 10 agents, but it's a commercial brokerage company, independent. There was no structure to the company set up. There was no training set up. The owner wasn't paying a salary to himself. He was just sweeping the accounts every month and living off that. Agents were on these super high splits, and the company's expenses were high. He's given a lot of services to the agents, but also giving them these high splits. So, in their market, they weren't hardly marketing themselves. So, you're going to have to do something there. You've got to go in and figure out, okay, if I want to have a real company, I need to get to where my expenses at. Where's the revenue per agent? When I asked about what's your average revenue per agent, they didn't even know. You've got to know where the money's going, where it's coming from. And there just hasn't been a lot of that over the last several years. Every penny counts. Are you overstaffed? Do you need more staff? A lot of agents they'll call our company and say, hey, I need a 90% split. I'd be happy to come over. I'm like, okay, well, I'd be happy to do that, but you're not going to get any services. You have to pay for it yourself. And, so there's going to be a learning curve for a lot of operators.
Speak to that process a little bit as far as, and this may seem basic to some, but it obviously is not done often enough. But, how you advise to say, know where the money's going and where it's coming from. I mean, and maybe that's just simple bookkeeping, but like I said, most are not doing it. So how do you advise them to kind of get on track?
a lot of them are trying to do the bookkeeping themselves. And, there's a lot of moving parts for that. So we really suggest that, they get a great bookkeeper that they know and pay well for it. They don't need to be full time. That's the thing, is they don't need to be sitting in the office all day, every day. They could be a couple hours a week, but also your accountant. Your accountant has got to be somebody that really will set you down and say, hey, this is where you're at. And, this is a path you're going. And, I tell every agent or every brokerage, you've got to analyze what you're doing from your marketing. You got to sit down at the end of the day, take a look at your marketing and what worked today, what didn't work today. And then do that every day, every week, every month, and every year, obviously. Analyze everything that you're doing, what's working, what's not working. If something is not working, maybe you double down on what's working and learn how to be better at what's not working. But analyzing what you're doing, taking a look at your reoccurring revenue, where's it coming from? Are you gaining market share? If you're talking about a brokerage, are you gaining market share? And how much market share are you gaining? Are you training the agents right? I mean, I'm talking to a lot of companies out there right now, and they're using AI, which is a great thing, right? But they're using it for the back end. And so I'm talking about, well, why aren't you focused on the front end as well? Because there's a lot, if you go on Commercial Brokers International website, you go on there and you'll see there's a piece of AI that's on there that if you want to get a value on your multifamily property right now, you can go in and do it for free. And it's pretty damn close. It's not like estimates or anything like that. It's pretty close. So we're focused more on the front end with the AI and lead generation, revenue generation. And we're also doing some AI in the back end as well. But a lot of smaller firms aren't spending the money for it.
Give us some specific examples on, say, front end, back end, like front end examples, how you're using AI, back end examples, how you're using AI, because it's such a new thing, but it's such a, it's being absorbed by so many people at the moment, or trying to. Anyway, give us some specific examples on both of those ends on how you're using it.
The stuff that you're able to do with AI right now is absolutely incredible. You can create ideas for content. You can actually create content, but you don't want to be that person that comes up with an idea, puts it in a ChatGPT or Gemini, and just puts a heading in and says, create a blog, and it spits it out. That's a piece of everybody else's that you're just putting back out. So it's not going to set you apart, really. But there's great ways to use it for your coming up with content ideas. The photos that you can create with AI, absolutely amazing as well. So, and then you want to go in, and it's also good for generating your analytics. Now, as far as on the back end, your accounting, you can set a lot of that up with AI now. Your tools for your brokers that can really help your transaction coordinators. All that AI is out there, and it's just expanding. There's a guy that I think he's in Virginia, and you can take a commercial lease, put it in AI, you can like scan it in, and it will make all the changes for you. All the rules and regulations for the state are in there, and it can spit it out. And it's done in seconds instead of having to go through a 70-page lease yourself. It can all be done.
How does it generate analytics specifically, or how do you use that?
Let's say you do an email. You put the email out, you send 14,000. How many people actually looked at the content? How many people clicked through and actually read it? You want to look at that, because if you're putting content out every day, and your AI can go in, it'll give you a full report on this. You can go in and take a look at the topic and say, okay, this topic didn't hit very well. So now I need to change it for next week. I need to do a better topic. And so what is your audience? It really helps you dial down on what topics or what your audience is looking for.
So is that an AI that's connected, say, to your CRM or something like that, so it has that information?
That is a marketing department question. I don't know what she uses.
Okay. No worries. No worries.
Yeah.
Just trying to learn how we're connecting that, or how we're pulling all that information. That is so helpful.
Well, you can get it. I mean, she has it all set up in a system, and I'm not sure which system it is, but it just gives her all the analytics, so she can look at everything every day and see, if Commercial Brokers International put a piece of content out, all of it's consolidated where she can go in and see what happened with that piece of content. And then we have a meeting every Monday. She goes, okay, this is what exactly drove each piece of content. This is what it drove. This drove the most. This drove the least. This is what the email did. It consolidates it all. It just makes it so much easier.
I know you're the operations guy, right? You're helping put everything together, and speak to that process a little bit. Like you just talked about. Okay, we meet, we talk about, actually, she already knows what she needs to bring to the table, right? These things. Speak to that process a little bit as somebody that's leading an organization and growing to those processes that you've put in place that helps you to ensure growth is happening and that you're tracking it and those things, and maybe who's involved.
So yeah, it's the team that you build around you. And so with when I've got these multiple companies I'm dealing with every day and the Joe Killinger brand, there's a lot going on. So I have to have people in place that will really help us keep moving forward. Marketing is a lot of what I'm doing right now. And so Selena that's here, she can tell you everything going on with every one of our companies as far as the growth on social media, how many new emails that are being captured every day, the amount of calls coming in. So if a call comes in, and so we generate a lead, and let's say it's for industrial property in Los Angeles, we give it to the agent, and then you can track the status on that too. So you can say, okay, Joel is out there doing showings today with that. These are the results of those calls. And that's very important. I mean, I want to know where that is and she wants to know it because we bonus her for every lead that she brings in from our marketing. She gets a fee. So, which is unusual in our industry, but I thought if you're going to put the time and effort into moving our company forward, then you should be compensated to do that. So if she brings a recruiting broker in, she brings somebody in on our marketing, or if she brings a new piece of business, she gets a referral fee. So our own marketing company on top of her salary. It's just finding the right people that can control every aspect of your business. And for me right now, with the operations side, the marketing is a heavy part of it. Bookkeeper, we talk to regularly. We'll sit down twice a week and go over what's happening. Did we get the checks in for this agent? What's outstanding? Do we need to make a phone call? And what agent is it? How long has the check been out? Was it released from the other brokerage firm? You've got to have that team. Otherwise, you're chasing your tail. I'm going to forget something. And, if I've got an office full of commercial real estate agents and they closed 5 deals this last month and they're struggling to get paid, I got to find out why, or I got to get on the phone and get hold of that other agent, go, hey, why are we not getting our check? And that, honestly, that's happening a lot right now. So, well, not a lot, but I mean, it's happening more than usual. And so we have to be very on top of where the agent's money is. Otherwise, our agents are going to get frustrated and they're going to get up and leave. But yeah, those people are key to anything we have moving forward.
No doubt about it. I completely agree. Your team is so crucial, or you're going to drop the ball, right? Depending on it's right person, right seat type of thing. You talked about your focus being a lot more on marketing now. Speak to the marketing team a little bit and how you all, delegate specific things there.
We're not very big. I have Selena, like I said, she is the head of marketing. And then she has somebody, Jane, that comes in just a couple times a week, maybe 10 to 15 hours. And Jane creates the content. Selena will post it. And then she'll work with the agents on creating OMs, marketing flyers. She edits the videos that I put out. Probably the hardest thing for me was getting her to understand that I cannot micromanage. I'm not going to look at every email. If I'm CC'd on every email, I'm going to glance at it, and then I'm going to delete it and go on. I just trust the fact that she's got it covered. And because I've seen our industry where micromanaging, you're just drowning them. And so it was really hard to get her to understand that I don't want to micromanage. I trust what you're doing. And if you're going to make a mistake, come and ask me. If you're not sure, let's have a conversation. But other than that, I just got to trust. So micromanaging in our industry is a little too much.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You got to enable them, right? Or it doesn't save you time whatsoever. So looking back, thinking about your real estate career, who's been some of the most important hires for you?
Well, I'd say George, but that was mostly out of spite. Every one of our real estate agents is, it's a big burnout. We have a 60-some% turnover. A lot of brokerages are in the 90%. It's a tough industry to get into. And, you're going to mostly be cold calling, creating content, working your sphere of influence. Every one of them I'm thankful that I get to work with them. I mean, we're a small shop, And so, but yeah, we've got 7 international clients we're dealing with right now. And it's all coming from our marketing. And you're not going to find, I kind of doubt across the country, you're going to find another brokerage company working with international clients like that, many of them at least. And some of them are massive companies. I've got diversity. I've got probably some of the largest population of women in my company. And that wasn't I wasn't out to just hire women. I went out to hire people that were great for what we're doing, and they're going to make it through the training program. Our training is so much more stringent than most other brokerages. So our training goes like this. If you're a new agent, you're going to come in. We tell you for the first 18 months, you're going to be in the office from 8:30 to 5:30. 8:30, there's a class every morning with a CEO. 8:30 to 9:15 or 9:30, you're training. And then again, at 5:00, we sit down before we all go home and we go through it. Okay, what happened today? How did your cold calls go? Did you do an email blast? Did you do a block program? What did you do? And what were the results of that? That's where we get to turnovers. A lot of people they'll 5 months into it, they go, man, I didn't realize it was so hard. I'm like, well, we said in the initial interview, it was not going to be easy. But, the people that make it through in this office, I got people that have been in the business only for a couple of years and they're making a few $100,000 a year. And, we just don't make any bones about it. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do everything we can to help you. I tell you, Whitney, I'm thankful for every one of them that makes it through the training and is out there doing the deal because they have had to work hard to make it.
What's the common traits for the ones that have been successful?
Patience, persistence, and consistency. There's days that it's hard to come in, and I don't know if you've ever done cold calling before, but it's brutal. And to have to do that, I mean, when I was starting, that's all there was, right? Because there's really no internet. So you were going to cold call and then fold letters and send them at the end of the day. But at least they have the internet, so they can take a break from cold calling. They can create some content. They can go out and do what we call the block program if they're a retail broker. There's a lot more for them to do, so you can kind of get a break. But it is brutal. It is brutal, and you've got somebody on the other end of the phone that really doesn't want to talk to you because they've talked to other brokers earlier that day. You have to have patience, but you have to be persistent, and you've got to be consistent. You've got to keep. It's got to be every day. The content goes out, or maybe not every day content goes out, but you've got to be consistent with knowing it, and you just got to be the best in the market. You can be the best salesperson, and we run across this. We'll get people, I'm a great salesperson, but you get them in here, they're just cold calling. They don't know anything about their market. You say if they're multifamily, okay, Bill, how many properties are on the market in Santa Monica right now? I don't know. I'm like, okay. You got to know how many properties are on the market. You got to know how long they've been on the market, how many sold, what's the average price per square foot, average lot size, average building size. You need to know all of that and then be a great salesman too. Once they figure out that they really need to come from a place of being the smartest in their market, it really opens a lot of doors for them because the conversation gets easy, right? You pick up the phone, you're talking to somebody and say, you see your property, one sold right down the street. It was on the market for 45 days, sold at X amount per square foot, and that was a tired looking building. Yours is a lot better. The conversation flows a lot easier.
Shifting gears just a little bit after numerous different businesses in commercial real estate and done a lot of different things, looking back 25 years or so, what would you have done different?
Focus. I was too spread out. So at one point, I had Commercial Brokers International. I had an investment company called Learning Link Centers. I had a property management called LLCPM, and I had a tech company called the RRD. 24/7, going everywhere, moving fast, and everything was moving slow. And so we ended up selling the tech company, closing down property management. We did that because of the pandemic. We didn't know what was going to happen. How are we going to run our brokerage during a pandemic when we're all closed down? So we found a buyer that would take our property management company, and they kept all the employees. We sold it. And Learning Link Centers it's sitting on the shelf. It's a socially responsible real estate investment company. We just haven't bought more properties for it lately. But narrow it down. I was running 24/7. I was tired all the time. I was traveling between LA and Dallas every 2 weeks. I'd go to Dallas. I'd been gone for 2 weeks. I'd play catch up for a week. Then I'd have a week of sanity. Then I'd come back to LA. Been gone for 2 weeks. So I'd be playing catch up, then have a week of sanity. And so it's not a way to just bring it in, focus your energy on one particular thing, and just be the best at that one thing.
I can relate to that. So many plates spinning, right?
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, it's really hard not to, oh, I could do this too. And then we get agents that come in here and say, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Okay. All right. I got that you want to do that, but let's bring it in. Let's bring the focus in. If you get that focus in, you're going to do a lot better.
What are some of the most important metrics that you track, Joe?
Well, for me, it's for the Joe Killinger website, which I absolutely love. Yeah, I do a lot of mentoring, and I really focus it on the mentoring. How am I helping these people? Are they really starting to see growth? Are they doing what they need to do? And I'll be honest with you, I do it for free, and sometimes that's a hindrance because. And somebody told me, Joe, you should charge for this. You're going to get they'll get a better return. And they're probably right because people will miss a call and oh yeah, I got busy. So if you're paying for that, maybe you won't miss that call. But for me on the personal side, it's just that what am I bringing to the value am I bringing to these people to help them get into the industry? Because the commercial real estate industry, average age is, and I've heard a few, but anywhere from 55 to 60 of the commercial brokers. So if we don't get younger people into this industry, there's going to be a problem down the road. And I think AI is accommodating that. I think it's piqued a lot of the younger people's interest now that they can utilize this tool. Now, as far as the brokerage, my biggest thing is obviously revenue. I look at that constantly, but revenue per agent for me is like if I've got an agent that's doing very well, how do we make sure they continue to do well? What do we need? What kind of support do they need? And then if I've got somebody that's struggling a little bit, what needs to happen there? How can we really help them get back on their feet? I've got agents that were in the office just killing it prior to the pandemic. They moved home, started working from home, and now they want to work from home all the time, and they're just getting killed. They're just not making enough money to barely live. There's always something to try and figure out, which happens to be the part I love. And I gauge a lot of it by that, how successful each one of our team members is. For the investment company, it's kind of sitting right now. We're really just waiting to buy some more triple net deals, probably in the Dallas-Fort Worth area again. I love Dallas-Fort Worth. It's for investments, and that's why we own there. But for that is something we want to do down the road is just start buying more properties, and we're going to allow our agents to invest with us. So that's really the what I'm looking at now is how can we set that up to where these agents, because I think every commercial real estate agent needs to be investing. I really think if you want to be successful, you need to own some real estate or at least a piece of something and invest in it. So when the times do slow down, and they will, we've seen this cycle how many times, it's just a little bit easier when you got that money coming.
That's so wise, man. If we could just all do that, right? So we're prepared for every part of the cycle. Joe, what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think it's just been this. Well, I know it's just been this drive. I grew up on a working farm, and my father was going to school. And I worked the farm with my mother. Now she was 5'2", 110 pounds. And if I had to be at football practice, she would go out and do my chores. She would take buckets of corn and water and give it to the pigs. Those buckets weigh 50 plus pounds. She's having to lift them up, put them away. And so I saw what hard work was really like. What I'm doing now, I cut trees for a living when I first got to California too. That's work. This is getting to show up in an office. It's not that hard. But what drives me is I want to create more jobs. I want to live the life that I'm very happy that I have created. It's a slow process, but I'm pretty happy with it. I get to go to work with people that I want to be around every day.
Joe, I always like to ask, and you've answered this in many ways, but how do you like to give back?
We have a few ways. So we do have a foundation called Wire Foundation. The number of women in commercial real estate, it's around 33%. So Wire Foundation is women in real estate. And so we created this foundation. Actually, it's on hold right now because during the pandemic, it was in-person mentoring is what it was. So obviously during the pandemic, we couldn't do it. So after the pandemic, we'll do it over Zoom. That didn't work. So, and then the lady who was running it for us has since moved back east. So I've got to redo it, but we're always trying to find a way to get more women into our industry. And our foundation, what it'll do is, let's say you want to be a commercial real estate agent, a residential real estate agent, title, escrow officer, whatever you want to be, we'll find somebody to mentor you, or you can go tag along with them and really learn how to do it. So that's one thing. And then with our investment company, we're going to be buying more single tenant net lease deals. And then once we get to a certain size, we're going to create a scholarship program for the properties that we own, along with the franchisees. And we will create the scholarship program will allow them to get management classes. And so they can move into management of those franchises or get their own franchise at some point. So that's the goal with that.
Awesome. Joe, I appreciate you giving back in that way and getting even more women in the industry and even through mentorship as well. Even the way you're giving mentorship away, that's very generous of you, your time, experience, no doubt about it. We talk about mentoring often on the show, and it's like most people who are successful in anything have had not just one mentor, but many mentors, me included. And I'm always looking for the next mentor, right? The next person that's ahead of me that can help answer questions or guide me, right, in specific ways. And hopefully I can add value to them too. But grateful for your desire to give back in that way. And I mean, and just thinking through the operations, right, and why some of these businesses are failing and how you're able to help. And so thank you again. How can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
You can go to the website, like you see behind me, joekillinger.co, or you can give me an email, joe@joekillinger.co, and happy to help. If you just have real estate questions, or if you're looking to become a broker, I'll be happy to try and help you connect with a broker in your community. We have the affiliate network, so hopefully I'll have a broker in your area that you can talk to. But yeah, reach out anytime.
That's a wrap, Joe. That's the end of the show. Thank you so much.